There's a strange weight that can settle into your life without you noticing it. It doesn't arrive all at once. It builds slowly, like dust in the corners of a room you stopped visiting, like letters stacked in a drawer you meant to organize, like boxes in a basement filled with memories too heavy to carry, but too sacred to throw away. It builds with every piece of furniture you once needed and now walk around carefully. With every extra room that stays dark and closed off, waiting for visitors who rarely come. With every small repair you keep meaning to get to, but somehow don't. You live among all these pieces of a life well lived, and yet, somewhere inside, you feel a quiet suffocation. As if the home that once held your dreams is now holding you back. And yet, the idea of leaving it behind feels unthinkable. This is the house where the Christmas trees stood year after year, where laughter bounced off the walls, where tears soaked into pillows and prayers filled the kitchen at midnight. This isn't just a house. It's part of you. How did you ever let it go? For a long time, I couldn't even imagine it. Downsizing sounded like failure, like giving up, like shrinking my life when I wanted to keep living it as fully as possible. But somewhere in that fear, a different voice started to whisper. A voice that said, what if letting go isn't losing? What if it's making space for something lighter, something freer? After 65, when the rhythms of daily life began to shift in ways I could no longer ignore, I finally listened to that voice. And what I found was nothing like what I feared. It wasn't loss. It wasn't grief. It wasn't smallness. Downsizing was a return to breath, to ease, to the kind of living that felt like sunlight spilling into a freshly opened room. Today, I want to share that journey with you. We'll explore 5 powerful reasons why downsizing after 65 turned out to be the best decision I ever made. Reasons rooted not in necessity, but in liberation. We'll talk about the emotional and practical transformations, the unexpected joys, the sense of renewal that can only come when you let go of what no longer serves the life you're living now. This isn't about pretending the transition is easy. It isn't. It's about telling the truth, that sometimes the hardest choices are the ones that finally set you free. First, we'll begin with something few people talk about when it comes to downsizing, the breathtaking, almost shocking sense of mental clarity that arrives when the clutter leaves the rooms of your home and the rooms of your mind. Let's step quietly into that discovery together. When you live in a house for decades, you stop seeing it. You stop noticing the corners that have grown crowded, the closets packed to bursting, the drawers full of things you no longer recognize. It all becomes background noise, the silent hum of maybe someday and just in case and I'll get to it later. You move around it. You step over it. You carry the weight of it in your mind, even if you don't realize it. Every unopened box, every unneeded item is a tiny whisper tugging at your attention, your energy, your peace. I didn't understand just how heavy that weight had become until I started letting it go. At first, downsizing felt like betrayal. Holding an old sweater that no longer fit but once warmed 100 winter mornings. Finding a box of mismatched dishes from the early years of marriage. Touching each object was like touching a nerve. So many memories wrapped in cloth and paper and wood. How could I choose what to keep, what to release? But something shifted when I realized I wasn't letting go of memories. I was letting go of noise. The more I gave away, the lighter I felt. Not just physically, though walking through a house without squeezing past piles was a relief I hadn't even known I needed. It was deeper. It was like fog lifting inside me. Like finding a room in my mind I hadn't visited in years, now swept clean and filled with sunlight. I found myself breathing differently. Thinking differently. Small decisions, what to wear, what to cook, where to sit and read, suddenly felt easier. My mind wasn't cluttered anymore. My days weren't weighed down by the 1,000 silent to-dos hidden in every crowded corner. And it wasn't about achieving some minimalist ideal. I didn't strip my life down to bare walls and a single chair. I kept treasures. I kept the things that still sang to me when I touched them. But I stopped letting objects with old voices drown out the voice inside me that was trying to speak now. Mary, a neighbor a few years older than me, said it best after she finished her own downsizing journey. I didn't realize how many decisions I was carrying around every day, she told me. Should I fix that broken lamp? Should I try to read all those old books again? Should I mend the quilt I stuffed in the closet? Every item was a question I hadn't answered, and clearing it away gave me my answers back. That's what clearing physical space did for me. It gave me permission to move through my days without the constant murmur of unfinished business. It gave my mind a chance to rest, to dream, to wander in ways it hadn't in years. If you've ever felt a strange exhaustion you couldn't name, an invisible weight you carry through even the simplest days, it might be worth asking, what around me have I stopped really seeing? What silent demands are cluttering my mind? And if you've begun your own journey of letting go, even if it's just one drawer, one shelf, one dusty stack of papers, share in the comments. Your story might be the encouragement someone else needs to start clearing their own path back to clarity. As the physical clutter disappeared, something else unexpected unfolded, something even more precious than mental space. It was the way my time began to expand, not contract. The way my days, once crowded with maintenance and obligation, opened wide with possibility. And that's where we'll go next. Time is a way of slipping through the cracks when you live in a larger house than you truly need. At first, you don't notice it. You expect to spend a Saturday morning dusting, an afternoon mowing the lawn, an evening fixing the leaky faucet or sorting out the garage. You assume it's just part of life, part of being responsible, part of keeping up with all that you've built. And for a long time, it is. Those tasks feel meaningful because they are tied to a life in motion. Children growing up, careers unfolding, holidays rushing in and out like tides. But at some point, the tasks stay and the reasons for them shrink. You find yourself mowing a lawn no grandchildren play on, wiping windows that frame empty guest rooms, fixing appliances in a kitchen built for a family that now visits only for holidays. And though you may still love the place, you start to feel a gnawing awareness. You're spending the best of your energy maintaining a life you're no longer actively living. Downsizing changed that for me in a way I didn't anticipate. I thought I would miss the space. I thought I would miss the busy rhythm of caretaking. Instead, I found myself rich in something far more precious: hours. Long, unrushed mornings. Afternoons where I could choose how to spend my time, not just react to what needed fixing. In a smaller home, maintenance shrinks. Cleaning becomes an act of care, not a battle against endless surfaces. Repairs are fewer, simpler, less urgent. Yard work, if there is any, takes minutes, not days. And all that space, mental, emotional, physical, opens into something beautiful: choice. I found myself lingering over breakfast instead of rushing into chores, taking spontaneous walks because nothing tethered me to the house, sitting down to read novels, not because I earned the break after a marathon of tasks, but because there was nothing pulling at me to delay joy. Henry, a good friend who moved into a smaller condo at 68, said something that stuck with me. I stopped managing a house and started living in my home. That distinction, once blurry, became crystal clear. Managing is about upkeep, about chasing broken things, wrestling with chores, measuring time and tasks completed. Living is about savoring, about waking up to a day that feels like a blank canvas, not a checklist. If you've ever felt like your days are slipping away under the weight of things that used to matter but no longer truly serve you, downsizing might be the doorway you didn't know you were allowed to walk through. Not because you can't handle the work anymore, but because your time is too valuable to be spent maintaining empty spaces when it could be filling vibrant ones. This week, notice where your hours go. Notice what drains you, what nourishes you. And if you find small ways to reclaim even a sliver of time, share your discovery in the comments. Each moment reclaimed is a seed planted toward a richer, freer life. With all this newfound time, something else began to shift, something I didn't expect but welcomed with open arms. A reconnection to community, to people, to the living, breathing world beyond my own four walls. And that's where our journey leads next. When you're tied to a large home, it's easy to fall into patterns of isolation without even realizing it. The maintenance demands your attention. The upkeep demands your weekends. And slowly, the world outside your front door feels a little farther away. You tell yourself you're busy. You tell yourself you'll visit friends next week, next month, after the lawn's mowed or the fence is repaired. But the months stack up like leaf you didn't rake in the fall. And the next thing you know, seasons have passed, and the circles that once kept you close to life have thinned out. Downsizing pulled me out of that slow drift. Moving to a smaller place, a townhouse closer to town, meant more than just fewer square feet. It meant proximity. It meant sidewalks instead of long, winding driveways. It meant front porches where neighbors actually sat and waved, small parks where people gathered for concerts and farmers markets, coffee shops where the same faces appeared often enough to become familiar. At first, it was overwhelming. After years of space and quiet, the nearness of life felt almost intrusive. But quickly, it became a balm. Walking out my front door now means seeing someone, exchanging greetings, sometimes lingering for real conversations. It means recognizing the mail carrier by name. It means invitations to block parties, book clubs, spontaneous lunches. It means community in a way that no sprawling, aging house tucked behind a tall fence could ever offer. And it's not just about socializing. It's about belonging. It's about being stitched back into the fabric of daily life in ways that remind you, I'm still part of the living world. I'm still someone who has stories to hear, advice to give, laughter to share. Carol, 67, moved into a smaller apartment complex after her husband passed away. She feared loneliness would follow her. Instead, she found companionship. It's funny, she told me once over coffee. I thought downsizing would shrink my world. Instead, it expanded it. That's the quiet magic of reconnecting to community. You trade isolation for interaction. You trade endless, silent spaces for vibrant, lived-in corners of humanity. You realize that connection doesn't happen because you intend it to. It happens because you put yourself where connection can find you. If you're feeling the ache of too much space and not enough life, consider this. Community isn't just something nice to have. It's nourishment. It's part of your health, your resilience, your happiness. Downsizing doesn't erase solitude when you need it. It just makes sure solitude doesn't become loneliness. This week, look around you. Where are your gathering places? Where is life unfolding just beyond the edges of your current routine? Even a small shift, a visit to a new library, a conversation at the dog park, can open a door. And if you found community in unexpected places after a move, share your story in the comments. You never know who might be inspired to step out of the large, lonely spaces and into a world that still has room for them. As community grew around me, something else began to change too. Something even more personal, more interior, a sense of emotional freedom I hadn't realized I was missing. And that's where we turn our attention next. There's a heaviness that lingers in spaces filled with memories. A kind of silent weight that tugs at you as you pass rooms no longer used, closets stuffed with lives you no longer live. Each object, each faded photograph or forgotten sweater holds a story. And stories are precious. But when too many surround you, they can begin to crowd out the life you are still living now. I didn't realize how much emotional energy I was spending on the past until I made the choice to carry less of it physically. Each decision, what to keep, what to release, felt at first like a betrayal. I worried that letting go of the bookshelf my father built or the chipped casserole dish from 1,000 Sunday dinners would mean letting go of the people and moments they represented. But it didn't. It never did. The memories didn't vanish with the objects. If anything, they grew sharper, sweeter, more fully mine. Freed from the burden of maintaining every relic of my history, I found myself able to carry my stories differently. Not in my hands, in my heart, in my conversations, in my willingness to open up new chapters instead of rereading the same pages over and over. And a dear friend who downsized at 70 described it perfectly. I realized, she said, that my life was layered in sediment. Every year that passed, another layer of things, of memories, of weight. Downsizing wasn't about erasing the past. It was about clearing enough space that I could still dance with it, not be buried under it. When you shed the physical artifacts that no longer serve your life today, you also shed expectations, regrets, unfinished plans that were quietly gathering dust inside you. You stop feeling trapped by what you didn't do, what you didn't finish, who you didn't stay connected with. You give yourself permission to be here, now, to live forward instead of only looking backward. And there's a breathtaking lightness that comes with that. You find yourself waking up with fewer shoulds clanging around in your mind. You open your closet and see only clothes that fit the person you are now, not who you used to be. You walk through your home and feel it reflecting your current life, not preserving a museum of what was. This week, I invite you to notice if there's an object or room, even a drawer that feels heavier than it should. Not because of its physical weight, but because of the emotional gravity it carries. Ask yourself, do I need this to remember? Or can I remember without it? And if you've ever experienced the quiet freedom of releasing something you thought you had to keep, share your story in the comments. Each act of letting go is not a loss. It's a clearing of space for something still waiting to grow. With my emotional freedom restored, something even more unexpected blossomed. Something simple but profound. A renewed ability to live with a sense of joy, not just duty. And that's where we'll go next, as we draw all these threads together. When you live in a space too large for your current life, joy often gets squeezed out by maintenance, by memory, by the sheer logistics of tending to more than you need. You don't even realize it's happening. You tell yourself that the home brings you comfort, that the familiar walls keep you anchored. And in some ways, they do. But over time, comfort can quietly harden into obligation. The list of chores grows longer. The list of spontaneous moments grows shorter. Joy becomes something you promise yourself for later. After the repairs, after the organizing, after the 1,000 small tasks that somehow always demand to be done first. Downsizing changed that rhythm for me. It wasn't immediate. The first weeks after the move, I missed the way the sunlight hit the kitchen window at exactly 8 a.m. in the old house. I missed the squeak of the floorboard in the upstairs hallway. I missed the sound of the wind rattling the old oak trees at night. There were moments when I wondered if I had made a terrible mistake, trading so much history for so much empty space. But then, slowly, something new began to fill that space. I noticed it first on a Tuesday morning. No long list of urgent repairs. No looming projects weighing down my coffee. I sat by a new window, smaller but perfectly framed by soft light, and watched the birds at a feeder I had hung just the day before. I sat there longer than I meant to. I smiled without realizing it. I felt free. That's what downsizing gave me. Time unclaimed by obligation. Space uncluttered by guilt. The ability to say yes to small adventures. An impromptu lunch with a neighbor, a spontaneous trip to the farmer's market, a slow walk through the park. Without the endless backdrop of home projects demanding my attention first. It's a different kind of joy than the wild, chasing dreams of youth. It's quieter, deeper, built not on big milestones, but on the pleasure of everyday living made lighter and easier. A joy you don't have to earn, a joy you simply allow. Robert, 68, put it simply after moving into a smaller place with his wife. I thought I missed the house, he said. I don't. I miss the memories sometimes, but I don't miss missing out. I don't miss being too tired to say yes to life. That struck me because that's exactly what downsizing made possible, saying yes more easily. Yes to a stroll instead of a weekend of yard work. Yes to inviting friends over without stressing about cleaning 3 bathrooms. Yes to lingering in bookstores, in cafes, in gardens. Yes to joy. This week, think about one small moment of joy you might have been putting off. A visit, a phone call, a sunrise you keep meaning to watch. Notice if there's a way you can say yes a little more easily and what it might open for you. Now, let's gather the heart of everything we've explored today. First, clearing physical space, clear my mental space. Second, downsizing gave me back my time. Third, downsizing reconnected me to real community. Fourth, downsizing gave me emotional freedom I didn't know I needed. Fifth, downsizing made joy an everyday companion again. Downsizing wasn't about giving up. It wasn't about shrinking my life. It was about letting my life breathe again. It was about making room, not just in my house, but in my heart for what matters now. Thank you for being with us today. If this story sparked something in you, if it made you wonder what freedoms might be waiting just beyond the clutter, give this video a like, share your reflections in the comments, and subscribe for more conversations about living fully, lightly, and bravely at every age. We'll see you next time.